everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for clicking on this week's video and continuing to support me. For any new viewers, my name is Alan and this is my life in Taiwan, where last week I asked a rather important question about the work rate of foreign English teachers here, and I gave you my opinion on how hard we work. Foreign English teachers here in Taiwan do work very hard. But of course, depending on your career path and indeed your life goals, one major consideration that many foreign English teachers here fail to ponder is the options that we have once we come to the end of our working lives, enter retirement, sit back, drink white wine in the sun, watch a lifetime of YouTube videos, book a cruise, and generally just wait for our good old friend the Grim Reaper to come and give us that inevitable tap on the shoulder and take us off to pastures new. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, retirement options for foreigners in Taiwan. Who said I don't bring you the most exciting, cutting-edge topics here on this channel? But in all seriousness, as I really enjoy discussing the topics that are so different between life in Taiwan and life in England, this is definitely one of those topics that falls into that category. There are so many aspects to elderly life here in Taiwan that are just much more different to elderly life back in the UK. Probably enough differences to fill a whole other video, but the one I want to focus on today is the pension system here and how it affects foreigners. And yes, I know the vast majority of foreigners here come for 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 years and aren't planning to stay and retire here, but that doesn't mean there aren't permanent residents that want to stay here forever and enjoy a retirement life here. And also another reason for making the video on this topic is because just a couple of weeks ago, a new piece of legislation passed initial review that stated that all foreign APRC holders, all permanent resident holders of Taiwan, 15,800 of us apparently, are going to be eligible to enter into Taiwan's government's pension system. And importantly, the employers of all permanent foreign resident workers here are going to be required by law to also make contributions to their foreign employees' pension funds. The minimum that the worker can contribute is 6% of their salary, which the employer must match. All of us know, of course, how much our employers like paying out for employee benefits here in Taiwan, right? But one of the most amazing things about this pension scheme is that it will be portable. So if a teacher changes schools or jobs, or indeed if their company goes out of business, then their fund will move with them and not reset to zero. But the information that I cannot find is how much the pension fund will pay out every month upon retirement, and whether or not that's the same or different as it will be for the locals, the Taiwanese people who retire. But what I do know is, according to the current pension scheme in place for locals, is that any individual that's been in the scheme for less than 15 years, well, at the age of 60 upon retirement, they will just receive a lump sum, probably similar to what they've already paid in, plus interest or whatever else is involved. Anybody that's been in the scheme for over 15 years, well, they will be eligible for monthly retirement pension payments. But again, these monthly payments, the amounts aren't readily available to me online. If you have any more information, then please add it to the comments section. But I can't really imagine that it's going to be much more than what was paid into the fund in the first place. So let's just take me as an example and say that I pay in 6% of my salary, which is being matched by my employer. That's going to be about $7,000 a month for the next 24 years before I retire at 60. That's 24. It's about 2 million NT dollars, which doesn't sound too bad. But if you think that I maybe will live till I'm 77, unlikely, but if I do, that's gonna be about $118,000 a year, 10,000 NT or $300 a month. Certainly not enough to live a comfortable retired life here in Taiwan. I'm really gonna struggle massively during retirement in Taiwan if I use this pension option as my only means of income as and when I retire. And this is where I think that the major cultural differences between the UK and Taiwan during elderly life really factor in. I've mentioned this before in my minimum wage video, but the living styles of Taiwanese families really affect this kind of topic. And the way that a typical family cycle would work here in Taiwan is that the younger generations are looked after by the older working generations until it comes time for that older generation to retire, and then the younger generation, as they start to earn more money, will take over the responsibility of the household and indeed looking after the elderly during retirement. Then the cycle starts over one more time as those younger people have children. And don't forget, of course, this is all happening in exactly the same house. There often isn't the huge burden of mortgages to think about, as families tend to pass their houses down through the generations. Yes, this is changing now, and especially with the new demographics of Taiwan, fewer younger people, this is not so much the case as it was before, but it still has a major effect on the pensions, the retirement plans of the elderly here in Taiwan. Back in the UK, either privately in more well-to-do families or through the NHS or welfare system, elderly people in need of care are usually shipped off to old people's homes or nursing homes without any of the social stigma that is involved with such an activity here in Taiwan. Here in Taiwan, because of this strong family culture, it is directly seen as your responsibility to fund the care of those elderly relatives that brought you into the world, funded your education, and gave you somewhere to live. So, as a foreigner living here in Taiwan, I have to admit that this is one of the aspects of life that I am very jealous of when it comes to the locals. And it's one of the ways in which my life as a foreigner living alone differs greatly to the locals, and not just on the topics of pension and retirement. In day-to-day life, the locals here are surrounded by a very strong family ethic. They have each other's back. On the small, trivial things, they will fight for each other, whether it's a parking ticket or some dispute at work, up to the huge life-changing events such as retirement and pension. They absolutely have each other's back and take great care of each other. Very jealous of the family ethic. It reminds me of being back home. Makes me miss my family very much. But anyway, back to the main topic of pensions and retirement for foreigners here in Taiwan. And as I mentioned earlier, the government's plan, although I welcome it very much and I think it's a great thing to be involved as a foreigner, it's probably not going to be enough to give us a comfortable retirement. You need to think of other options, and to be honest, personally, I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do. Yes, I'm saving money for the future, for William. I'm definitely going to go and speak to my boss about investing in this plan for the future. But other than that, not too sure what I'm going to do. Will my son, William, come to Taiwan when I'm old and grey and push me around in my wheelchair when I'm too fragile to walk? Or will I have to be still rolling around on a classroom floor teaching English to Taiwanese kids when I'm 75 in order to pay the bills? I am definitely happier to know that the government are including foreigners more and more in their schemes, whether it's pensions or labor insurance. It really makes us feel much more part of the team. Whether or not the pension is actually viable or a great option for us, well, at least we're in the same boat as the Taiwanese in future. But anyway, yes, I think I've reached my goal in this video of highlighting the topic and raising the point that foreigners are now being looked upon a lot more favorably and a little more equally to the Taiwanese locals, which is always a fantastic thing. So I think I'm going to wrap up this video right there and end it by inviting you to have your say in the comment section down below. Whether you're a foreigner in the same position as me, unsure about your retirement and pension plans, or indeed if you're a local Taiwanese with a very fixed, firm, focused idea of what's going to happen to you after you finish working, then by all means add it to the discussion in the comment section down below. I also know that a lot of locals here have very little faith in the government's pension fund and doubt whether or not there's enough money in the coffers to fund everybody's future retirement. The demographics of Taiwan are changing significantly. Fewer younger people now, lots of older people. Therefore, if you have an opinion on that topic, then add it to the description below. As always, I want to say thanks a million for watching to the end of the video. I really appreciate every single subscriber. And I also want to say an extra special thanks to my patrons over on Patreon for their continuing, unending support of the channel and keeping me going. I really can't tell you how much I appreciate it. In fact, you may have seen throughout this video a little coaster here, very beautiful ceramic coaster that one of my Patreons had commissioned for me. I'm going to be sending one of these or a couple of these out to all of my Patreons as a little bit of a thank you, whether they want it or not. But yes, if you want to get involved, head over to Patreon and check it out. But as for now, the sweat is literally dripping off me making these videos out in the beautiful Taiwan summer. I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And as always, I'll see you next time in My Life in Taiwan. Peace, guys.